So I'm Anahid Garakanyan. I'm the Vice Dean at Southwestern Law School and chair of our admissions committee. I'm going to be moderating today's session. We're going to go for an hour. With me is Dean Amy McClellan, who oversees our online JD program that's launching in fall 2024. We also have Cindy Goldberg of the online program and Nancy Rose Hill from the admissions office. Today's program is going to focus on the online JD program. So after a few introductory comments and activities, I'm going to turn it over to Dean McClellan, who will provide an overview of the online program. I'll then step back in and do a quick overview of the admissions process. And we then do plan to leave plenty of time for your questions orally or via chat. During the session, the questions that come up, if you want to include them in the chat, we'll try to get to them as much as possible. But if we don't get to them via chat, we hope to get to them in the Q&A portion. Before we get started with the presentation, we want to learn a bit about you. So we have 3 questions. So we're going to launch 3 polls. We'll start with the first one and ask that you let us know what year you're applying for. So let's take another 10 seconds, see your responses. All right, so most of you are applying for the upcoming year, 2024. Thank you. It's good to have this information. And then we'll go to our second poll. Again, interested to hear from you in terms of whether you have prior experience with online learning. Let's take about 10 seconds. Wow, many of you do, and a few of you don't, which is completely fine. No prior experience with online learning is needed for the online JD program. Appreciate your responses here. And we have one last poll that we're going to launch. And this one, we're interested in learning your primary reason that you're interested in the online JD program. Another 10 seconds. So many of you, due to work responsibilities, you're interested in the online program, but also a few prior successful asynchronous learning obligations, obviously family responsibilities, or no law school within commuting distance. Thank you. Really, really important for us to know where you're coming from and in terms of the interest in the online program. So now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Dean McClellan, to provide us an overview of the online JD program.
I want to say that was impressive. You guys are fast poll takers. So let's see. Right. So welcome. I'm so excited to have you all here tonight. I'm going to be talking about our online JD program. I'm going to start with a little bit of information about Southwestern Law School, and then I'll go into some of the specifics of the program. We can look at some snapshots of classes to see what it looks like, and I'll explain how they work. And then as we mentioned, we'll talk about the admissions process. So, but I wanted to start with this picture that I totally love. So that's a picture of our students. I believe they're at orientation. We have a thriving law school community in downtown Los Angeles. That's our campus. There's 3 buildings. We're not just an office. It's a whole school. We've been around since 1911. We own a historic building in downtown Los Angeles. And then we have 2 other buildings. One is a residence hall. There's a green where a lot of people walk their dogs and where students hold activities. This is a picture of our historic building, and Again, we're founded in 1911. We have about 950 students. We're a freestanding law school. That's very large for a law school. So we're a pretty significant law school. And we're a law school of innovators, of trailblazers. This is a quote from our mission statement, which I really enjoy. And the full mission statement is on our website, but it ends with "We are the difference." And that's what we hope to be. And that's part of why we've created this online JD. A little bit about our students. So this is sample employers from our students from the past couple of years. We have a significant number of students that go into the entertainment industry, but a lot go into large firms, small firms, government, and public interest jobs. So kind of, everything. We pride ourselves on preparing students to practice law. So we have, as a result, over the years, we've had many famous alumni. Many of them are firsts, like first Chinese American judge, first female commander of the LAPD. We have a lot of grads who are alums who are in major political offices, governors, a lot of people in Congress, and then people in who are known for their skills in the courtroom, and then, as I said, many judges. So, embracing innovation is in our DNA. It started at the time of our founding. So in 1911, we offered a part-time JD program. Most schools didn't start offering online part-time JD programs till, I would say, the 70s and 80s. By the 70s, we were offering a 2-year accelerated program. And in the early 80s, we started a part-time program specifically for parents. We have a significant number of entertainment and media law courses because we're located in LA. And so a lot of people come to our school for that, but we really prepare students for every area of law. In 2019, we launched our hybrid JD program, and our online JD program is kind of an outgrowth of that initiative. Our students have told us that they want flexible schedules, that they have family and work commitments, that the commute is difficult, that they love the idea of having geographic flexibility, that they can take our program from anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world. Many people don't have an ABA accredited law school nearby and can't relocate to Los Angeles. So all of these factors we considered when we designed our online JD program. So it's an ABA accredited online JD program. That means that we had to get specific permission from the ABA to have this program. So not only is the law school ABA accredited, but this particular program is also ABA accredited. So we designed it to be either full or part-time. You can choose, and it's mostly asynchronous. So we're probably the first program in the country that's primarily asynchronous. There is no requirement that you come to campus. I'm going to explain in a moment what an asynchronous class is, but we also have optional Zoom sessions built into our asynchronous courses. That's because we want you to have really good access to the faculty and be able to practice all of those lawyering skills that you gain during law school to make connections with your faculty and your peers. And so the Zoom sessions are recorded if you can't make them, but we really hope that you come. They're not every week. They're just sporadic throughout the term at key points. Some of the experiential classes will have required Zooms. So if you decide you want to do a clinic class or an externship, which I'll talk about in a few minutes, those require that you are overseen by an attorney/faculty member. And so you will have regular required Zoom sessions with them. So those are a little different than the asynchronous classes, and those are electives, so they're your choice. We may also have a whole variety of other electives that are available to you that our traditional students take that are also in Zoom, but you should be able to get through the program mostly asynchronously. And the classes are organized in a weekly format, and that's really for asynchronous online. all the studies show that it's super important for adults to have pacing through a class. And we want you to be interacting with your professor and your peers. And so if you're all at the same place in the class, that works well. So all of our classes are organized in a weekly format. They open up on Tuesday morning. Asynchronous is you can access it at any time. So anytime, day or night. I was a working parent and I took an asynchronous class and I couldn't log in until 10 o'clock. So several times a week, I would log in at 10 o'clock and then work until I got my work done. And so you can log in at any time during the day, but during the week from Tuesday through Monday, you have to finish all the work in all your classes. And then at the end of Monday, on Tuesday morning, the next week of materials will open up in all of your classes, and then you'll start working on the following week. So if you have a heavy schedule during the week, you want to block your whole weekend off to work on the classes, or in the evenings. If you work evenings, you want to block off a lot of time during the day to be able to access your classes, and we'll start working through them. The classes have reading assignments, videos, learning activities. There are asynchronous discussions that are like chat style discussions that you'll do in small groups. You might have to collaborate on something with peers through something like a Google Doc. You may have papers and other written assignments. A lot of our faculty are using quizzes in the early classes so that you can check and see whether you're understanding the material and whether you're able to apply it. And then we'll have midterms and final exams. The midterms give you a sense of how you're doing in the class. And then the final exam is kind of see if you can retain all of the information and apply it. So the Zoom sessions are extra. We also have office hours with faculty and TAs. And I'm going to stop sharing for a minute, and I'm going to pull up a sample class. So let me think. Here it is. There we go. So this is my demo class. So so if you've studied online before, you may have used Canvas. We use Canvas as our learning management system, but our Canvas has a special overlay to it, so the look and feel of Canvas is even more user-friendly and fun. So on the left, you'll see these guides. They're very simple. You can access right away the syllabus, your grades. There's these buttons up here that help you find resources. So the faculty member's office hours, you can email the faculty member directly. The law library is here. And then we've got access to Westlaw. You may have Lexis in the class if there are materials that your faculty member wants you to access through those research engines. The professor will be here, their office hours, there's a welcome video, and then an introduction to the class. And then if you click, so the whole class is organized by weeks. And if you click on the week, it'll take you to that week's worth of work. And it looks like a regular Canvas class, but if you click on overview for each week, you'll have an overview. And the overview is really where everything lies. So it's organized so that you know exactly what to do and you're grounded in what you're going to be learning. So there's a little description of what you're going to be learning that week. What are the key concepts that you're going to be learning about? There are learning outcomes that are specific to that week's work. So by the end of the week, you should understand and be able to do these things that the faculty have laid out for you. There's a roadmap, which is kind of instructions from the faculty of what to work on first. And then in this class, in this first week, there are 3 separate parts of the class that or 3 elements of the class that you're going to be dealing with. So most of the classes, they'll start with a reading assignment. And then here you're going to be watching a documentary and then writing a reflection paper. For the next part of the class that week, you're going to have a short reading assignment. And then you're going to watch a video, and then there's a learning activity and a little quiz. And as I said, most of the quizzes are there, so you can just double check that you're learning the material. They're there for you, so that you'll have confidence. And then again, another reading activity, watch a video, and then you're going to post in a discussion. So it's highly organized. All of these activities are geared to make sure that you're reaching the learning objectives. And so at the end of the week, you could look up at the learning objectives and make sure that you understand those things. We try and make everything fun. It is law school, so it's traditional textbooks, but let me show you one of the learning activities. So this is in criminal law, you have to think about intent. And so there was a lesson on specific versus general intent. And then we've got these flip cards here. So there's this example, and then if you turn it, it'll tell you whether it was general intent or specific intent. So you can flip through these cards and practice whether you understand what general intent is and specific intent. And this is just for you. We created these kind of things so that you can, make sure that you're getting it. That's the one thing about law school that I didn't love when I was a student, is we didn't have this kind of stuff. And so it's nice to be able to check and practice things. Let me go back to the overview. There's a little video in here I was going to show you. So for the videos, we have a combination of things. The faculty have really been working on how do students learn best. Most of the video clips are short. They may be like 20 minutes or so, just to introduce you to some kind of concept and hear your faculty members' take on it. I hired somebody who did music, who's been doing music videos since the 90s, and somebody who does Japanese anime to help with the video production, so that the videos are, warm, they're clear, they're fun. So, some of the videos will be a faculty member talking over PowerPoints, but a lot of them are this kind of video. And I'm just going to skip ahead. I can watch this.
First, the lie that our defendant makes must be a misrepresentation of a past or present fact. Opinions that are outrageous are not the subject of false pretenses. What might that look like? Suppose a seller said to a potential buyer, I want you to buy my house because it's going to triple in value this coming year. It's the best deal of the decade. And let's suppose that the buyer does just that, buys the house. And then the housing market tanks, and the house is only worth half the value. Seller hasn't committed the crime of obtaining property by false pretenses. That's because seller didn't make a misrepresentation of a past or present fact. His statement, buy my house because it will triple in value, well, it could be an exaggeration. It may even be a lie, but it's not grounds for a claim of false pretenses because it's not a misrepresentation of a past or present fact. That's actually an accommodation to the real world in which we live. Salesmanship must flourish. Puffery is allowed. The law is quite careful not to criminalize behavior, which is a natural part of our business transactions. That's what.
So that's a sample of one of our videos. She's one of our wonderful professors. I'll tell you a little bit more about our faculty. So these are some of the faculty that are teaching in our online program in the first year or two. So they are all full-time faculty members. They volunteered to teach in the online program. They also concurrently will be teaching in our on-campus program. They're all scholars in their field. The Southwestern faculty are excellent. They really make an effort to think about how students learn and to present the material in a way that you'll learn. But they're also scholars in their field. They present all over the country on what they're writing about. It's a really fantastic faculty. And the fact that they volunteered to be teaching in our online program is really terrific, because they really want to be there. They want you to learn. We have two options for the program. So there's the full-time option and the part-time option. The full-time option you would complete in 3 years. It's on a semester system. The first year you're going to be doing 32 units. The part-time program is a 4-year program. It's on a semester system. It assumes that you'll take some classes during at least 2 summers. The 1L year, the first year, is 19 units. So you can see there's a big difference between 19 units and 32 units. And then both programs have the same tuition as our on-campus programs. This is a sample of the full-time courses. You can see that there's 6 courses, so it's a pretty significant full-time workload. Laws is our legal research and writing class, and includes analysis. Foundations is a class that not a lot of schools have, that just kind of help you do well in your other classes. So it's tips and tricks and a way for you to touch base with a professor and just get help outside the class on how to think about the legal concepts that you're learning. Contracts, constitutional law, criminal law are all part of a standard law school curriculum. Property and torts are civil law cases. I mean, civil law fields. The part-time program is condensed, so you have much fewer classes, and we assume that you'll take some summer classes. So if you have a lot of commitments outside of school, you're going to want to do the part-time program, and you want to still make sure that you have a significant amount of time available to work on these classes, but it is pared down. After the first year, you will then take some or the second year, if you're in the part-time program, you'll start to take some of the upper level courses. So these are some of the required courses. All of these courses in the 1L year and above, the required courses are pretty much standard. They're the courses that you need, that the ABA requires us to have, and then some of them are just helping you so that you can pass the bar exam. We also include in our online program bar readiness classes. One focuses on the writing skills that you need to do the essay section that's in every state's bar, and then the other, the MBE, is that multiple choice. So skills and strategies, how do you take those doctrinal law classes and apply them to multiple choice questions? There's also some upper division writing classes and experiential classes that are required. And then we've got many electives. They will be open to you in different formats. And, if generally students take the electives to kind of figure out what area they like, or to build some different kind of skills. We also, in addition, have 4 optional concentrations. They are not required. The majority of our students don't do concentrations, but if you want to do litigation, the civil litigation and advocacy program puts together a whole bunch of electives so that you will graduate from school with a concentration in civil litigation and advocacy. We have an extensive offering of entertainment and media law classes. They won't all be offered in the asynchronous format, but you will have an opportunity to do a clinic or an externship. An externship is like an internship, except for credit. And you're supervised by a law faculty member and somebody at a firm. Or legal organization. So you're getting real practice in being an attorney. We also have a public interest law concentration, which covers family law, immigration, benefits, like all different aspects of public interest law. And then we have a technology law and entrepreneurship program. Because we're near Silicon Valley, that's become fairly popular as well. So, and it incorporates business law too. So those are just options. You don't have to do them. All of the electives in these concentrations are open to all of our students. So if you're not sure what you want to do, you may take a few electives from the different concentrations. We also pride ourselves on having lots of experiential classes, so the externships and clinics, which you can still participate in. And you're also open to participate in any of our writing programs, our honors advocacy programs, the clubs, and you'll be invited to events on campus. You do not need to come to campus, but we do have some really fun events, including homecoming, where students can bring their families, and it's a great time. We just had a homecoming event last week, and we had we think just under 1,000 people, so it's a fun time. Southwestern really prides itself on supporting its students, and there are a lot of supports set up in the program and with the university. All of those student supports are available to our online students. So our faculty members will have regular office hours. There's writing help, academic success help, mentors. The Dean's Fellows are students who did really well in their first year, and they're there to help you with the academic side of classes. So there's lots of things that we offer all of our students that are open to all of our online students. In addition, Cindy Goldberg, who's on the Zoom meeting, is our advisor for our students. So she's there to kind of monitor your progress in the classes and help you if you need to connect with somebody else at the school. If you're struggling with something or you have a specific question, she'll help you get the answer to that. There's also a dedicated law librarian. So in addition to the librarians in the library, you're also welcome to connect with our online law librarian. He's also he's been a professor and a law librarian, many years of experience. He's in Florida, and he's available to Zoom with you and help you with any research problems you have. He's also going to cover the research part of your laws class, so you'll get to know him quite well. We have, so we are accepting applications now. Our applications opened in October. Because we are a California school and we're teaching online to residents of other states, we have to get permission from each state to be able to offer a degree in their state. So we've been working through the states one at a time. So there's a bunch that we've already been approved for. And then these other ones we're working on applications with. So some of them we just need to give them notice. Other ones we have to apply and get approved through the Department of Education. We are accepting applications for anyone who lives in the accepting category of states and the pending category of states. The pending ones we expect to get authorized in before the program starts. We are not accepting applications in 4 states, and it's for a variety of reasons. One of the states only allows schools to operate if they have a physical location in the state, which we don't. And then a few others are in the process of revamping their laws. And so we're waiting to see what their laws are. And so they asked us to hold off for a year. If you live in a state that's pending, you would apply. If by April 1st, we don't know whether or not our application for that state is approved, if you've paid a registration or an application fee, you can get that reimbursed. So the application deadline is April 1st. We will accept applications after that, but we may not have space after that. So it'll just be rolling admissions, and if we have space. Our orientation for our 2024 the class that starts in 2024 is August 13th, and August 15th is when the classes start. The orientation is there's an asynchronous orientation that you'll be able to access over the summer. And then we have on the 13th a Zoom session so you can get to know your peers, some of your faculty members, and just get grounded in how the program works. And I'm going to stop sharing. And so we'll talk a little bit more about, our Vice Dean is going to talk a little bit more about the admissions process, and then we'll answer your question.
Thank you, Dean McClellan. So I'm going to do an overview of our admissions process. I have a few slides to share. Zoom is taking a bit of time. Okay, let me change these settings. Very good. All right, so we want to share with you a few details about the application process. So when you look at the Southwestern application, it's a good idea to go in prepared and be familiar with our various JD programs. And you'll find this information on our website. And based on your schedule and circumstances, to figure out whether the online program is a good fit and whether the full-time or the part-time option is a good fit. The application itself asks you to rank the programs by preference, 1 through 5 in terms of your choices. So you may choose to rank only the online program or only the on-campus programs, or a combination of the two. This is just a heads up that the application is going to provide you these options, and it's going to ask you to do the ranking. If you're interested in the online program, you should know that we are going to have an interview process as part of admissions to the online program. And that's because there's a lot of information to share. So we want to make sure that all applicants are well informed about the commitment that's required and how the program works, and also for us to be able to assess whether the applicant is a good fit for the online asynchronous learning approach. We do the same with respect to our 2-year accelerated program that's called SCALE. We also do interviews for that program for the same reasons. If you're applying for the online program, on the application, you'll see a short set of questions asking you why you're interested in the online program, kind of similar to the polling questions that we started with. And then also the application asks for your personal statement, which is a requirement of the application. And then there are 2 optional essay topics. The first optional essay or statement asks why you're interested in Southwestern, what specific programs. And so if you are interested in the online program, that's a good opportunity to talk about your specific circumstances and why the online program, part-time or full-time, is a good fit. With respect to the application, just want to emphasize that there's one single application regardless of which Southwestern JD program you're interested in applying for. So you'll rank your preferences, you'll respond to the tailored questions that we have about the online JD program interest. They're not detailed, they're not going to take up a whole lot of time. It's just a bit of minutia with respect to your specific interest in online learning. We ask that you submit your application. If you want to start your application pending an LSAT score, that's fine. But we want to make sure that you understand that we cannot review your application until it's complete, right? So everything with respect to the personal statement, the letter of recommendation, minimum 1, we accept up to 3, your LSAT score that you want considered. So if you're going to be taking another LSAT, please let us know. Please hold off on reviewing my application until I have my LSAT score for, whatever the date of the administration is. So all of that information needs to be received by us before we can start review of your application. And we want everything in by April 1st. And as Dean McClellan mentioned, the sooner you apply and you have a completed application, the sooner we can review and hopefully be able to get back to you, because applications are going to be coming in on rolling basis, and it's going to be a question of the number of seats that we have available. And for those who are considering a late application, depending on the seats that might still be available, we might accept applications past April 1st, and we will accept the June 2024 LSAT administration, again, contingent on seats being available. As far as the financial information, so of course, we always encourage applicants to submit the FAFSA form as soon as possible to receive your financial aid award. With respect to scholarships for incoming students, these are merit scholarships, and there's nothing you need to submit, there's nothing to apply for. The merit scholarships are awarded based on the strength of your application, and they apply to all of our JD programs, whether a student's applying for the on-campus program or the online program, whether they're applying for full-time or part-time. The merit scholarships are part of the automatic consideration of the application. And then once you are a Southwestern student, there are additional scholarships that are available, both in terms of your law school performance, but also based on other indicators. The current tuition for Southwestern students is what you see on this slide for full-time, part-time, and then scale our 2-year JD program. And the part-time tuition takes into account, as Dean McClellan mentioned, that a part-time student is likely going to be attending summer sessions, probably 2 summer sessions, and taking a number of units that are charged on a per unit basis. The tuition for the 24-25 academic year will be set in late spring, early summer. And so you'll be able to check that information on our website. And then just a final slide in terms of any questions that you have with respect to admissions. You're always invited and welcome to contact our admissions office and schedule a meeting. And then for online JD specific questions, we also have a separate email set up. But just generally speaking, the admissions office, our online JD office, we're very much committed to answering your questions, educating you about the programs. And we do invite you to come to different admissions programming, whether it's online JD specific or otherwise, and like really think about it in terms of your pre-law school legal education. Our programs are very substantive, mock law classes, presentations by our faculty about their scholarship and publications, student panels. So you just want to get immersed in the world of legal education and Southwestern specifically, which will be part of your learning curve once it's time to start law school. So I'm going to stop share now, and we are going to open it up to any questions that you might have. And if you could raise your electronic hand, we'll take your questions.
Dean Garkanian,
Yeah.
just because there were no immediate hands, there is a good question in the chat asking what the interview process will be like. And I think that would be good for everyone to kind of hear about.
Sure. I'll get us started, and then if Dean McClellan would like to add. So the interview process will be about an hour long, meeting with one of our faculty members or one of our colleagues who's closely involved with the online JD program. Part of the interview will be to educate you about the online program, answer your questions, and part of it will be a structured set of a couple of questions that relate to joining the online program, asynchronous learning, the ability to kind of multitask, to manage big projects. So no preparation necessary, absolutely no preparation necessary. It's just a conversation for us to hear about your experience, maybe past projects that you've worked with, past experience with online learning, or generally with education, and staying on track with all of the rigorous requirements. Did you want to add anything, Dean McClellan?
I think that covered it pretty well. It's also just an opportunity for us to more personally answer any questions that you have and give you a sense of what it would be like to be studying with us online.
I'm going to go with first names. Angela, if you want to ask your question.
Yes, and please forgive my voice because I have a little bit of laryngitis. My question is, I have a master's of jurisprudence from Texas A&M University, and I was just wondering if any of that would go towards where I would not have to take as many classes. I didn't know if any of that would apply or how that would work. I hope I'm getting my question across.
You are, and hope you feel better soon. So good question. And others might have other higher education degrees and have the same question. We cannot accept any transfer units from other programs. And so any student entering the JD program would be taking all of the required courses as part of the JD program, the 87 units.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I have a quick question about that.
Um,
Just to dovetail off that. And my apologies. I can't find the raise hand function, but
No worries.
I'm in the same boat. I have a master's in the study of law from USC, and I have an MBA. So I know that can't be used, and you're not going to use any of those credits in order to be applied here for the class. But is there a waiver that will substitute or a variance for the LSAT exam, or does everybody have to take an LSAT exam across the board?
Again, thank you for the question. The LSAT is required. On top of the LSAT, if an applicant is interested in submitting a GRE score, we will consider that as well. But the LSAT is a requirement of applying to the program.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I'm hoping I'm saying the name correctly. Avia? Avia, please.
Yes. So I did want to ask, if I live somewhere relatively close to the campus and I'm an online student, would I ever have the option during maybe like the summer term to come in person for a class?
Dean McClellan, do you want to take this one?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. As long as there's space in the class, you're able to take some of the in-person classes from the online program. And vice versa, you may have some on-campus students taking some of your elective classes with you.
Great, thank you.
Nicholas?
Hey, thanks. I was wondering, for people like me who have been out of college for over a decade, how heavily is work experience weighed versus your college GPA and your LSAT score?
Sure. Great question. And it's a question that we always get, given our evening program, our 2-year JD program. We get a lot of applicants who've been out of school for a long time and are established professionals. We do take a holistic view of the application. We do start with the LSAT score, with the undergraduate performance. But for someone who's been out for a while, we definitely look at that work experience, what your personal statement talks about in terms of your interest in law school, your readiness for law school. We pay attention to the letters of recommendation. And understandably, for someone who's been out of school for a long time, your letter or letters of recommendation are going to come from the employment, your professional setting. Generally speaking, it might be helpful for you to know that not just based on those of us who've been in legal education or the profession for a long time, but based on a big national study, actually having work experience is really, really helpful in terms of landing your first legal job. Because, I mean, when you think about what law is all about, it's people relationships, business relationships. For someone who's lived a few years, for someone who has a family, for someone who is in the business world or in the workforce, you're going to have a lot of anchors as different legal topics are being discussed in your various classes. So that's going to serve you and others who are in your position really well.
Thanks.
Christopher? Christopher Day, did you have a question?
First. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't know how to get off mute. Will a master's help the admissions process? I know you guys look at like holistic views and items like that, but the overall, obviously somebody that has a master's or an MBA or a JP, they've already experienced graduate school to a certain extent.
Sure. No, it is certainly something that we look at. So as far as like a GPA, the focus is on the undergraduate GPA. But we do then get your transcripts for graduate programs. And it is certainly something that we look at, both in terms of the experience that you bring, but also sometimes what we see is, in the younger days, going through undergraduate, the applicant may not have been as vested in their studies, but things really changed once they were engaged in their graduate studies. So we look at that information in all of these different ways. Norma?
Hi, everyone. Thanks. I have a question about your success rate or student success rate in passing the bar when, as an out-of-state student. What does that look like? How does it influence the preparation sessions for passing the bar? And, do you keep statistics on how well out-of-state students actually do?
So very good question and very relevant to our online JD program. With respect to our on-campus program, I don't know the percentage, but like almost everyone takes the California bar, which is regarded as the hardest bar in the country. So I don't have a response for you, Norma. With the online program, we are going to now have graduates who are going to be taking the bar in a lot of different states. But at this time, I don't have the data, given that most of our graduates, almost all our graduates, with a few exceptions, take the California bar.
Okay, thanks. Just a related question. Is it usual to take the bar from multiple states? So California plus, another location?
It does happen. It just really depends on why, right? So where you plan to practice and whether you plan to practice in both jurisdictions immediately upon graduation, or maybe you start off practicing in one place and then you're interested in another one, and checking to see if there's the possibility of waiving in as someone who's practiced for a few years.
That makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Of course. John?
Yes. Hello?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I have two questions. When you graduate on your diploma, on your degree, will it say online JD or will it just say like all the other JD programs, just JD?
So it will simply say JD. There will be no indication of the 2-year JD program, the 3-year on-campus JD program, or online part-time or full-time.
Okay, and the second question is, do you foresee any circumstances where the ABA will pool Southwest's ability to have an online JD program? So in other words, I'm in 2 years and they say, hey, you know what? We don't feel this is going good. We're pulling the plug. Like something like Laverne, where they pull the plug and now they just have California.
Sure. No, I do not foresee anything like that happening. So Southwestern has had the ABA accreditation for decades. Every school that's ABA accredited, so about the 200 schools in the country that are ABA accredited, on an annual basis have to report certain information to the ABA. On a periodic basis, we have to report a lot of extensive information and get visited by a team of volunteers. We just went through that process a year and a half ago, like flying colors, and not an issue. So some schools have had challenges with the ABA, and you mentioned, one of them. But I do not foresee any concern or challenges with respect to Southwestern or the ABA approval for the online program.
Greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Of course. Jamie?
Hi, it's Jamie.
Jamie.
It's okay. It's okay. I kind of have two questions. First, the biggest one is I'm of the older variety, I guess. I've gone to college and gotten multiple different areas, gotten degrees in different areas. I never really figured out until now what I wanted to be when I grow up. Do you guys really weigh heavily on, say, if I received a degree in 2015, but my GPA wasn't necessarily as high then as it is now? Do you guys consider the 8 year ago degree GPA just as heavily as you would now? How do you, because
I appreciate the question, Jamie. It comes up all the time, whether somebody's applying right out of college or having been out for 15 years, or maybe their undergraduate spanned over 10 years, 20 years. What is really important is the positive trajectory. We all might have had some bumps in the road, but ultimately, where we end up, and sometimes there's a bump in the road, so there's a dip, and then, we go back up. So as part of the application, you can submit an addendum that explains your undergraduate performance, that explains swings in your LSAT score, and we actually encourage you to submit that addendum. It might have been a medical situation that someone was dealing with, a financial hardship that someone was dealing with that contributed to whatever the challenging period was. So what's really important is the performance over the span of the undergraduate program, or if there was a graduate program, and if there's something to be explained, we encourage you to share that.
Okay, so that kind of goes, I have a second question to add to my first one. If I've submitted my application to you guys and I've got my personal statement, my supplemental, every application calls it something different. I've got a supplemental, but if I felt I wanted to add an addendum for the GPA trajectory over the years, how do I go in and edit my application? Is that possible?
Nancy, could I ask you to
Yes.
respond to the question?
Sure. You can just email that to admissions@swlaw.edu. It's our general admissions inbox, and we will add it to your file.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Now, just my second question, and it'll be pretty quick. I'm not located in California, so when I complete your program, if you guys are gracious enough to allow me a spot, how difficult is it to, if I don't want to apply for the California bar and I want to apply for it in my state, how difficult is that process to do?
So in terms of bar eligibility in different jurisdictions, you need to check with the particular jurisdiction that you're interested in, and we'll also put in the chat the compilation that we have on Southwestern's website with respect to our different programs and the eligibility for the different states, and Nancy has included that.
Okay, so it's been added?
Yes. We have about 5
Okay.
minutes remaining. We have 3 hands up, and hopefully we can get to all of your questions. Christian?
Thank you.
Of course.
I just had a question on how would going to an ABA accredited school improve career opportunities, especially like here in California where you don't have to go to one to take the bar. So why would I go to an ABA accredited school?
Sure, it's a very personal decision. I think, if you're interested in taking other jurisdictions' bar exam, you should check to see whether they would accept your application if you're not graduating from an ABA school. So that's one primary thing to consider. And also just in terms of the various offerings that a particular school has. the extent of the courses, the experiential hands-on opportunities, the honors programs, law review, law journal, etc. And, applying to law school and starting law school, it is such a huge commitment. You want to make sure that you're researching the different kinds of schools and whether they're ABA accredited or not, but also just the different programs, the different offerings to figure out what works well for you.
Thank you.
Grace?
Hi, thank you. Real quick, more so about the bar. So you will be giving out strategies, classes for preparing students to take the bar. How do you foresee that working when you will have a number of students that will probably try to take the bar at several different states in the same cohort?
Sure. Dean McClellan, do you want to take this one?
Sure. So when the cohort starts, we'll be looking at what states you plan to be taking the bar from, and we will incorporate bar prep strategies and understanding of the structure of that state's bar in the class that you take at the end of your program. But the skills that you need to do the writing, the essays, it's the same for every state. How do you address a problem? How do you answer? How do you create a good answer for the essay section of each state's bar? It's the same things. And then the MBE is the multi-state bar exam. So most bars use the same set of multiple choice questions, same exam. So that piece would be universal.
Thank you.
Kristen?
Hi, I am a disabled student, and I was wondering if you have something like an access center or a liaison to assist with and evaluate any modifications.
Kristen, thank you for that question. So Dean McClellan can provide maybe more specific information, but we do have an accessibility services component of our student services office. And for the online program, Dean McClellan.
Yes, so all of the same accessibility, modifications would be made for our online students that we would do for an in-person student. The nice thing about online is, if you need to enlarge it, like we have built into Canvas, lots of accessible things that just make it accessible for everybody. So larger print, or, make it, there's a way that you can click so that it'll look better visually. We can create transcripts for anything that's a video, including classes that are recorded and uploaded into our video platform. We're buying a special video platform that has excellent transcript services and also can be translated into 29 languages for like closed captioning. So there's a lot that we can do accessibility wise online. If somebody usually gets time and a half on exams and all that stuff, that'll all be taken into consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a minute to go. A few questions in the chat in terms of different areas of concentration, health law, employment law. So these are all areas where we are creating additional electives, and we'll be rolling them out once the program gets started. And with some of these courses that are offered on campus, the plan is also to think about how we can offer some of these hybrid or fully on Zoom so that online students can partake in those as well. There was a question about what kind of lawyer does landlord-tenant work. So someone who this could be like kind of in a transactional setting, but most probably in a litigation setting when things like go badly, representing the landlord or representing the tenant. This is under the general civil litigation category for the person who asked the question. And I hope that we've answered almost everyone's questions. And if we haven't gotten to your question, you have our email contact information. And if like you don't know where to start, admissions at swlaw.edu is the best place to start. For veterans benefits, there was a question. Thank you, Nancy. Email financial aid. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming, spending your afternoon/evening with us. And we want to keep seeing you and hearing from you. So hopefully we'll see you at other admissions events or hear from you via email. Everyone have a great evening.